And for those watching the recording as well, I want to state this, is that this webinar is classed as training. And I know some of the people that have been on this over the last few weeks have now been furloughed, and they've given their apologies because they were on furlough, but training is still permitted. Personal development is still permitted. So not only is it permitted, it's encouraged. And essentially, whilst people are on furlough, you can ask people very strongly to do training that you want them to do. So if there is some health and safety training you want people to do, if there's some business development, as long as it's not direct work, even if it's some kind of testing a product, that's the wrong way of saying it. If it's training on a product, and by doing that, they've got to do, for example, somebody was talking to me the other day about websites, and they said, we need this person to learn this new language. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a dummy site, and we're going to get them to build this site in this new language. Then that is training, that's personal development. Of course, if you were using a live site and they were learning it, then that wouldn't quite be the same. I think that's where the grey areas tend to come in. Okay, Kate, yeah, thanks. We're looking forward to it. Eric is on MacBook, working from the sofa. Good. I'm on MacBook as well. Love that. Okay. Eric, you put there, thanks for offering time, Simon, but I have a good story. Too long to type, but short enough for here. If you would like to share that story, then please let me know that you're happy to share that story, and I'll gladly take you off mute and give us a bit of an idea of that. Neil, successes this week, converting some pre-lockdown jobs that involve some on-site work into some projects that can be completed remotely, instigated a weekly work sharing and social, so that's good, and seeing value in working with clients to get all their projects lined up, ready for when we leave lockdown. Great. Thanks, Neil, for sharing that. Interestingly enough, Diana Catton has also given her apologies, and I imagine the apologies we've had are probably 60% people who actually are too busy. So Diana's got 5 quotes that she's got to get out for new work for IT and backups and IT support and security. So that's good. So some people are really busy. Some people are obviously pricing new work, getting new clients, new contracts, or they're busy dealing with cash flow forecasts to get the loans sorted. And that's really, really important. As I mentioned, some are furloughed and are struggling a little bit with that. Yeah, Neil's on Mac, and Eric is happy to share. So I'm just going to get down to Eric here, and yeah, Eric, over to you. Share a good news story. We're looking forward to hearing it. If you can just unmute yourself, that would be great.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, yes.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. Yes, so I've been struggling a little bit with getting motivated, and I guess majority of us have in this situation, because it is unprecedented.
Yeah.
But with a couple of personal setbacks as well, it's kind of added to that. I looked at various self-motivation, watching the videos and things like that, but it's just not my thing. I find the Americanisms a little bit too much BS involved with that, and just doesn't quite give you perspective. It gives you a good all-round, yeah, maybe I should be doing that, yes, I should be doing that. So what I did was looked at, we predominantly do research and development at the Boole Technology Centre, and revisited some of the prospects that we've been trying to work with before CV-19, and just basically followed them up. It's one of those, don't give up, just keep plodding on. And even though it felt as though I was just treading water and plodding through it all, somebody decided to call me back, and we've had extensive conversations, emails, business plans, sharing information and tasks, to the point that this company is not only going to do the work, but they're going to invest in the project. And
Great.
it's one of those, wow, how did that happen? And it's one of those, you just don't give up. You've just got to keep going. And it doesn't matter what people say to you. It's that inner, if there's still a little bit of a glimmer of a light in there, it will grow brighter. It's just, you just have to wallow in it a little bit. That's okay. You know, there's no rules. And just keep persevering. And from a personal level, it's been transformative, and, you know, great. We've got more work to do, and it's good news from all around.
And I think, you know, tying into what I mentioned last week, it's recognizing that and being grateful for the little things, being grateful for that one call back, as you clearly are, and not just thinking, oh, well, it's only one. Actually, it's the ones that count. You know, look after the pennies, and the pounds look after themselves. It's being grateful for what you're getting through, and I'm really happy that that's working it. And you're right. You know, we all have to find our own way, don't we? And some of the stuff is okay, some of it isn't, and you know, there's no one size fits all with this, and we've got to find our way. So as Adam says there, well done. And I do believe, and I've been on lots of motivational courses and weekends, that, you know, whatever your beliefs are, whatever your faiths are, that the universe has a way of rewarding activity. And if you keep pushing on, as you've said there, Eric, then what that does, the universe says, okay, do you know what? You're pushing on. It's time to give a bit of payback. And sometimes it doesn't quite feel sort of balanced in that payback, but you do get some payback. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Thank you. Neil's put here, found The War of Art, Stephen Pressfield, as quite an inspiring read. Been trying to focus some time on my personal projects. This has helped me focus a little. Yeah. And there are some great books. And obviously, if you can't necessarily spend the time reading them, listening to them, unfortunately, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. One of the things I'm feeling quite down about at the moment is that I'm not spending time driving, and I usually listen to audiobooks whilst I'm driving from home into Lincoln to Spark House and the university, where I do a lot of work with a lot of their tenants. And I'm missing out on my audio books, and I've actually ordered a couple of physical books from Amazon recently to top that up. So we've all got to find our way. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Let's make sure I've got everybody added in. Okay. As always, a quick reminder that this is part of the University of Lincoln's productivity program, which is supported by the University of Lincoln and the European Union ERDF fund. And it's important to realise that there are lots of different aspects of the productivity program, and some of those are on screen there. And there's going to be some contact details later on. If there's anything that you need now or in the future as you're part of this program, then please reach out to the team. I'm sure there'll be much more on offer and of support. As always, my role today is to help you be aware of the possibilities in your business, and hopefully some of you can testify to that, educate you in some best business building practices, and also achieve some kind of accountability for some actions that you're going to do. So Neil shared some things that he'd managed to get done. So what I'd like you to do, those of you who were on last week's session, just think about what it was that you said you were going to do. And I know this, as I said, from being on many courses, many seminars and webinars, that you have all the best intentions when you're on the webinar. You write lots of notes of what you want to do. What is the one thing that you're really pleased that you acted upon? What's the one thing that you might not have actually achieved any results? It might not have been particularly monumental, but it was something that you were happy that you just got done as a result of being on one of the prior sessions, particularly last week's session. What was that? And just type it into the questions and answers box. That would be great if you could do that. David's put here in the chat box, lunch and learn. Yeah, had my lunch just before I jumped on this to save you all watching me eat it. One in front of the other leads to the next. Future is how we make it, not a question, but a statement. I've worked from home 25 to 30 years, works for me. Great. Not quite sure. That's somebody who's from a Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge. So if you can just type your name in there, the person who's come on through the phone, that would be great. So type into the Q&A box, what one thing are you really pleased about that you got done? What action did you work on? What action did you take from one of these sessions, and just put it into the questions and answers box? That would be great. David's put here 1.5 page business plan for next 6 months. Great. Thanks for sharing them. So what one thing? What we're going to cover today, whilst you're typing all those in there, and I'm going to run through them in a second, is we're going to cover through any hot topics. So if there's anything that you don't necessarily have a question about, but it's something that you would like more clarity on, that you feel that you would like to share with other people. For example, last week somebody shared all the different way that Lincoln were releasing grants, etc. That would be good. Your questions answered as we go through this. Any questions that you've got at all, I'm going to answer Paul's question in a moment, and it probably ties in with the topics that we've got on here as well, which is good. Thanks, Paul. Your fiver will be in the post. And then I'm going to talk about how we can strengthen our business identity, and 3 ingredients to doing this. We're going to talk about how you can beat your competitors, and also mastering your core key performance indicators. And some of these we talked a little bit before. We mentioned KPIs, key performance indicators, in a prior session, but I just want to talk more about the core of that. And some of you might be thinking, well, what's this business identity about, beating your competitors? Well, you know, if you're not going to beat your competitors, then guess what? They're going to beat you. And they'll certainly, I would hope, they're looking at their plans, they're looking at how they can do things differently and how they're going to come out of this stronger. So we need to make sure that you're looking at how you can do that. But business identity for me is really, really important, because it forms part of that strategic plan that we've mentioned before. And it's become more and more clear to me that as we look to our business of how we can do things differently, how we can be more productive, more efficient, how we can cope with the change that is ahead of us, what we need to do is make sure we don't lose sight of our business values and the rest of our business identity that we're going to talk about in a minute. And somebody mentioned to me many, many years ago about Mars Group, and that, you know, I think it's every quarter they do it. Every quarter, it might be more frequently, but they as a whole group set core key performance indicators, and they set about 3 to 5 KPIs for the whole group. Okay, so people will have different layers of KPIs underneath that, but the whole group have a set of KPIs. Just make sure I'm allowing everybody else in here to talk. Somebody just joined by phone, so that's good. I assume by phone, is that Isabel?
It is.
Yes, there you go. But it always masks the number, but it gives me the last 3 digits of the number. So I'm glad that you're with us, Isabel. So good to have you on the phone here. That's okay. We're just getting started. Just meet you up there if that's okay. And I'm just going to rename you just so that we know who you are for the records. Great. First things first then, questions and hot topics. And let's go down here, some of the things that people have entered. So Kate started to be more active on LinkedIn from a proactive point of view. Good. Certainly interesting to see how LinkedIn, certainly for business owners and for connecting, has become a very different platform and a much more engaging platform than it has been in the past. And certainly I think a lot of people, myself included, are shifting more from Facebook, but I use a lot, onto LinkedIn. So it's good to see that that's working for you, Kate. Alan, now actively working through our strategy plan, resulting in really good discussions about the way forward for Evans McDowell Architects, and I'm looking forward to working on that more in our session tomorrow, Alan, as well, so that's good. Mariah, research better ways to utilize social media and put it into practice. Yeah, if one thing I did find is a really good resource, Facebook have got some great videos of how to be more effective on Facebook, particularly for businesses. So if you just Google Facebook for business training videos, again, it's a really good thing that people can do while they're furloughed and look at different ways of doing things. So it's definitely a good way of utilizing time. Neil, set some milestone goals, set them, great. Also aim to monitor morale and creative fulfillment. And the sharing session was really useful for doing that. So good, I'm glad about that, Neil. Paul, set email to customers to say still working, but at slower rate, and now have a few more collections to do. Good. So that's good from that point of view as well. So I'm glad to see people getting things done, taking the action, and as Eric said, you know, the more we can keep pushing on, the more of a ripple effect will come back as the universe rewards us for that action. And it does feel really difficult, and it does feel demotivating sometimes when you feel that you're just talking to a silent wall. But you never know who's got their ear and glass to the other side of the wall there. So that's great there. Martin has put here, I've been approached from a Chinese company this morning with face masks, still waiting for their specs and data. Good. What effect do you think the lockdown will have? Got that already, so that's good. Great. One foot and the other leads to the next. Yeah, we've covered that as well. Great. Just get rid of some of those. So any questions, please put them in the questions and answers box, and we'll go through this after each topic area and cover those things off. First thing today is to talk about strengthening your business identity. Now, your business identity is important whether you are a single person working in a self-employed business, you might be a consultant, an advisor, you might be somebody who's offering a particular service or a particular product or a particular brokerage of some sort, all the way up to some of the largest businesses that turn over, you know, hundreds of millions of pounds. You know, what you see in all businesses is the value of business identity. It's what sets you apart. It's what attracts people to you, both clients, employees. It's what helps you work with other people. And we're going to talk about some of these in detail, but it's really about revisiting that. If you haven't done any work on your business identity before, then you should. And obviously, we're going to cover the 3 key parts of that. So if you're starting from scratch, great, make plenty of notes. But if you have already done some work on this, and I know sometimes people might say, well, I worked on our values as part of the investors and people process, for example, that I did way back in sort of 2000 and something. But one of the things when I see people experiencing change and disruption, such as we're having at the moment, interruption, what we should do is make sure that we're holding up the way we react to this. We're looking at how we are dealing with our clients, our suppliers, our employees against this business identity, and make sure that we're not becoming a different version, completely a different version of what we really set out to be. And that's really important. You might say, well, perhaps we do need to become a different version. And I do appreciate some of that, but it's about little tweaks to that. If you start considerably shifting your business identity from one pole to another pole, then it's going to be really difficult to trade beyond this, because people aren't going to recognize you. People that have dealt with you in the past won't want to deal with it with you now. People who have worked for you in the past won't want to work for you now. and you might get rid of some people who you don't want to work for you or work with, and perhaps again that's another thing. Perhaps we've put up with people in our team who aren't effective, that aren't productive, that don't contribute, that we don't have trust in, and we have clients likewise, or suppliers. And now is the time when we need to look at that. And I think we've all got people who are behaving to us in a way that we're going to remember that, and we're going to look at that. And a lot of that is, you have to ask, is this because they're morphing into somebody as a reaction to this crisis and this period of change? Or actually, are we now seeing the true identity of them and their business? Because when we were successful and when things were going good, we didn't look at their identity quite so well. We were getting a good service, a good price, and we didn't really look at that. But now, when you put an animal into a corner and you start to poke it a little bit, that's happening now, you start to see those true behaviors. So what I want you to do is encourage you to recognize your own business identity in these three ingredients we're going to talk through, but also start to look at the identity of those people around you, those businesses around you. Are they behaving as you want them to be? My wife's been into Newark, near where we live today, to do some essential shopping, and she had to get some horse food for our horses from a local store. And she came back absolutely fuming about how the way the manager who is serving behind the till there, how rude she was when she walked through the door, how sharp she was, and how she treated her through the whole experience. And that's something that my wife's going to remember, and that's something that is going to affect where she shops beyond this. We've seen headlines in the news about quite prominent retailers that are treating people in a certain way, and we're going to remember that. So the three vital ingredients, no matter what the size of the business, the first ingredient are your core values. Okay, I've been doing a lot of work with people on their values. In fact, I don't think Alex is on the call today, but I helped Alex out with some of the strategic plan last week after the session. And we looked at the values, and the values are how you want to do business with other people, how you expect them to do business with you. So what I'd like you to do now, and we're going to have a bit of a workshop feel to this, I want you to start jotting down and remind yourself of the values that you have in your business. Now, is it trust? Okay. Is it exceptional reliability? Is it going the extra mile? Now, I differ perhaps from some other coaches and consultants in that I always like to answer values with so what. So if you have a value of transparency, my immediate response to that is so what? Because what I want to know is, what does that mean to me? Sometimes when we list our values, we use words that can be interpreted differently. We use words that are very jargon based and perhaps even a little bit trendy. I'm a simple builder at heart, and I like to understand what I see and what I hear. So does your team, so does your suppliers, and so do your customers. So write down values, but also if you've got a value, if you've got a nice word, and I don't mind nice words such as transparency, integrity, but then make sure that you explain it or that I can understand it. If you were to explain that to an 11, 12-year-old child, would they understand what it means for them and how they deal with you? And these values should be something that is reflective of how you expect people to treat you, but also how you should treat other people in your business and outside your business that you have dealings with. And whilst you're thinking about more values on there, I want you to list down as many as you can. I want to give you an example, and I might have mentioned this in one of the earlier sessions, but I'm going to mention it again just for effect. I did some work with a business who was looking to sell his business, and he'd had it valued at £750,000. He wanted 1.2 million for it. And he brought me in to, one, coach him on how to add value in his business, which is one of my specialisms, but he brought me in to help him stay on track as well. And part of the deal was that I did him a deal on the coaching, and I would get 0.5% of everything that he got above the business, above 1.2 million. And we looked at his values. And one of the biggest values that was holding him back, and he got lots and lots of clients, but he got very, very few suppliers that would work with him on an ongoing basis. And this reminded me when I was talking to a client just earlier this morning. And what this guy did is he had an obsessive value about people paying him on time. He believed that every client that he worked with should pay him on time, without exception, without chasing letters, absolutely pay him on time. If they valued what he did, then they should pay him on time and in full for doing it. One of his problems with that was one of his values, but the way he treated his suppliers was inherent from something that his father told him when he took over the business. And that was, never pay your bills until you see the threat of court action or the red letter. So suddenly you've got somebody who outwardly was winning clients, but saying to them, I want to be paid on time, but his supply chain were being treated in a completely different way, in that they had to send court letters and red letters before they would get paid. So you can see the disparity there in values. And it's really important when we list our values, that we list values that we actually can live up to, or try and live up to. You know, there can be aspirational values, of course there can, but we need to make sure that we can work and follow those values, both with people we work with and people who work for us. Okay, so hopefully you've done some work on those values, and if you are looking at making decisions, have a look at those decisions and make sure you're making those decisions against those values. The other thing to talk about is your purpose. People like to do work with people that they understand what they're passionate about and what they're interested about. And it's interesting, Paul, you asked the question about marketing after this lockdown finishes, and let me just bring it up here. What effect do you think the lockdown will have on marketing to businesses post-lockdown? I think there's going to be two effects. The one that I've just mentioned there about values, people will actually understand and connect more emotionally with the identity of the business, and people will remember the values that people live by. And you can do the best marketing in the world, you can have the greatest PR, the best copy written, the best website, but if people remember that you didn't live by your values, then that is wasted. Okay, so the marketing starts by the behavior that you have right now during lockdown. Okay, and I hope that some of the marketeers on this will echo this. But people also want to understand why you do what you do. They want to understand that you're passionate about it. One of the things that this lockdown across the UK and globally has done, it's turned us into very emotional people. People are clapping the NHS. People are doing things emotionally and showing outward emotion that they wouldn't normally do. And because of that, what they will do is they will connect with your business when they can emotionally connect with it. Okay. Now, of course, price is going to be important. There's no doubt about it. Money is going to be tight and price is going to be important. But as I found, when I've come out of other recessions in the past, particularly in 2009, I was amazed how insignificant price actually was. As you came out of recession, you think it would be the most important thing. And I wouldn't say it's the bottom of the list, but it was probably 2 or 3 down. It was a lot less significant than I thought it was going to be, because people really, really wanted to deal with people who they connected with. They wanted to deal with people that they knew weren't going to let them down. They wanted to connect and do business with people that were going to be there and look after them in the longer term. So the purpose, the reason why you do what you do, the reason why you get up every morning, why you jump on webinars such as this is really, really important things to revisit. So make sure that you've looked at your purpose. And again, this is part of those first two columns of that one-page strategic plan. But your purpose also gives you direction, okay? It shows people what your ambitions are. It shows people where you're going, okay? It doesn't just show people where you are now. Your purpose should show you where you're heading. Sony, for example, had a big, hairy, audacious goal, big purpose of changing the world's perception of Japanese products from one of poor quality to one of exceptional quality. So they're never the first, but they're always, I would like to think, the best. You know, everybody else bought a CD Walkman out, but they bought the one out that didn't jump when you were running. So your purpose is part of your identity. And certainly from a marketing point of view, it's what people will connect with. Yeah, I mentioned this before. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. That's what Simon Sinek talks in his book, Starting with the Why, and there's lots of TED Talks on that as well. So purpose is really important. The other thing that is important as part of your identity, and we touched on this a little bit before about setting short-term goals, but as we start to get more things settled in our business, it's important to look at our goals, our big goals, our dreams, okay, our ambitions, those stretching goals. And what I am seeing, certainly with finance providers, that more and more of the questions are longer term. Where does the business want to be in 18 months, 2 years time? Now that's a really hard question to ask a business owner who is applying for a loan. But when you're taking out finance, you know, the Sybil's loan, if you're taking out finance for potentially 3 to 5 years, they want to know that you have some lofty goals, some big goals that are set for the end of that period. Okay, so it's really important as part of our identity to set those goals and make sure those goals have the detail. You know, can I visualize them? Can I see them? Can I touch them? You know, and when we look at our business and we bring people back into our business, or when we attract new people into our business as we trade through this and out of it, people will connect to our values. People will understand our purpose. But as the leader in the business, and we talked about leaders in crisis last session, about, you know, the thing that the leader of the business should do is make sure that this business identity is crystal clear, that our goals are set, that our purpose is communicated, and that our values we work by and live by and walk by, that then we get everybody else behind them and follow them. So the business identity is really important, and it moves on from being a great leader. And your role, if you're a leader or a manager, is to make sure that these are set, and also that on a regular basis that you ensure that the business is actually following them. Is the culture in the business living by the values? Yeah, is the purpose and the values communicated in our marketing? Are we, in our website copy, our LinkedIn profiles, are we sharing what our missions are, what our purposes? If you go on my LinkedIn profile, it says that what my missions are, tells people why I do what I do, why I love doing what I do each and every single day. Okay, so we really need to think about those business identity ingredients. And if some of you think, oh, this is a little bit woolly or a little bit fluffy, these are the things that you probably are already doing, okay? But because your product is good, because the market is good, because your prices are good, you know, and because of the market that we had, you know, you're probably doing them by default. You're probably doing them by habit. But when we come through this and out of it on the other side, these are things that people will remember. These are things that we need to remind people of. So in answer to Paul's question, yeah, I think marketing as we come through this will very much be how we connect with people and how we show that we're going to be different. We're going to be talking about that in a short while as well. And I think, we will have to think a lot more about how we do things and why we do things rather than just what we do. And I certainly feel that the channels are going to be different as well. Answering Paul's question and just moving on to questions and answers as before we go on to the next topic area. I know we've got Glenn on here from Alan Signs, who obviously do signs and printing. All my books, etc., that I hand out are all printed by Alan Signs. It's about looking at the different ways that people are going to receive information. I do think direct mail could potentially make a comeback. Social media, I think there'll be some people who embrace it. There'll be some people that push away from it. And I think what we'll end up with, Paul, is a real need to research and to ask better questions of our prospects and our customers to find out what they are receptive to. Because if we market to them in the way that we did before, for some that might be okay, but for most they're going to want to see something different. They're going to want to see something more. I don't want to say, when I say different, I don't mean completely opposite, but what they want to see is something better. They want to see something that's more valuable to them. So I think we're going to have to spend a lot more time looking at different ways that we can connect to people. More people will be on LinkedIn in some ways, so that will become more of a channel. More people will respond perhaps to direct mail because they haven't seen it for a while. They haven't touched something, felt something for a while in that kind of way. So, Glenn, from a direct mail point of view and a printing point of view, that could significantly increase. How many people have tried sending birthday cards and anniversary cards? We've tried it. You can't, if you can't get them from the shops, a lot of these online Funky Pigeon, I can't think what the other one is, Moonpig, have just let everybody down so badly in many, many instances, not all instances, but we've tried several times and we just can't get things physically sent out to people in the times that we need. So I think, a lot of the channels will work differently. If anybody's got any, because I know we've got a couple of marketeers, and I know Kate from Shooting Star, if there's anything you want to add to that, then please, Kate, take yourself off of mute. Tell us a little bit more about perhaps the answer to Paul and anything that you can add to the business identity.
Yeah, sorry, I was just raising my hand to say hello.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously...
but no, I totally agree with what you said. It's about the why, not the what, because there are lots of other companies that probably do a similar thing to what you do, explaining, like you said, why you do it, what makes you get up out of bed in the morning, and like you say, spend time trying to improve and grow your business. Taking part in webinars like this is the real kind of motivator and will be the emotional hook that will resonate with people and, turn people into customers, really.
Yeah, I heard a saying I keep saying many years ago. It makes me feel ancient when I keep saying that, but quite some time ago, and I forgot how long ago it was, where it said that people buy on emotion and then justify with logic. And I used to remember that when I used to have the hot tub business. If you could get people emotionally connected to a hot tub and how they were going to feel in it and how they were going to get the wonderful relaxation and the feel good factor and the hydrotherapy. If I just stood there and I had one guy who tried selling them at the garden centre I had, and all he talked about was how many brake horsepower each pump had, how many jets it had. Our hot tubs had more jets. People don't care. They'll justify it by that after they've made that initial buying decision, but they'll always make that purchasing decision based upon that emotional connection. So good. Any other questions? Any other points? Anything else, Kate, that you can add to purpose or values or answering Paul about marketing. Is there any way that you think marketing is going to change? Putting you on the spot now a little bit.
Sorry, no, that's okay. I think, like you say, I think when people are in a crisis situation or a challenging situation like we are currently, it always tends to be the marketing and the PR that gets cut. When actually this is a good time to be shouting about what you do and sticking your head above the parapet, because while other people are cutting their PR and marketing, it's a good opportunity for you to get on the front foot and get ahead of your competition.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I completely agree with that. In fact, I think the guys at Wallbreaker are just doing a campaign at the moment and doing some videos about that, you know, for many, it is the first thing to be cut, but to me, it should be the last thing to be cut, definitely. Thanks for that, Kate. Sorry, when you raised your hand, I thought you want to be taken off mute, so I'll just mute you back up if that's okay. The other thing I think, Paul, with marketing, just one final thing is, and this echoes and leads on from what Kate was just saying there as well, it's economies of scale. It's doing things, people will find more effective ways of marketing, and there are outsourced people out there who themselves are having to become more productive, having to become more efficient. They're looking at cutting their costs, they're looking at cutting their prices, and it's not necessarily about discounting, but it's about being more sort of value for money. So I think marketing, what we will see is, as an industry, there'll be some quite good lessons learned, I hope, where we'll be able to get probably more effective, better placed marketing, more bespoke perhaps to us, at better value for money. I don't like to use the word cheap or discounted because I don't think that's right, but I think, you know, because of the way that the economies of scale work, and in things like this, I think we'll be able to get different resources that can be better used for us. Okay, any more questions before we move on to the next topic? Neil's put here, values, creative. I love the way, Neil, you've given us some direction here. Empathetic, flexible, non-corporate. Yes, sometimes values are what we aren't just as much as what we are. Yeah, there's nothing wrong in saying we are not like this. If your competitors are like that, then the best way that you can set a value up is to be the opposite of that, if that's how you can differentiate yourself. So yeah, non-corporate, I love that. Okay, moving on to the next topic then, and this follows on about beating our competitors. Now, I would hope to think that most of us have competitors, but I want to just talk about 3 key things when it comes to beating our competitors. The first one is that there is lots of noise. There are so many people putting posts on social media, sending out email campaigns, and you know, it is about persistence, but it's also about shouting louder a little bit. And I'm always a little bit dubious about shouting louder because, you know, how many more people just keep shouting louder and louder and louder? But when it comes to your competitors, what I want you to do is I want you to take a look at your competitors. First of all, you should know who they are. So if you don't, then you need to have a look. And if they're people who weren't competitors before, they might be as you come out of this as well, as you trade through this. So keep an eye on your competitors and make sure that what you're doing is you're watching them. You're watching what they're saying. You're watching what they're talking about. Okay. And what you need to do is you need to be making more noise more frequently. As you know, we'll just talk about there about people dropping marketing. You know, when this has happened, I've actually increased my spend on social media so I can get more coverage and cut above and through the noise that everybody else is making. So, yeah, if you think that you can hide away, be quiet, wait for your competitors just to keep going as they're going and keep spreading the word and keep talking about themselves all the time and leave them to it, then that potentially could be a mistake, and it could let you down, that strategy. And I have seen people do that in the past. Okay, batten down the hatches, stay indoors, literally, but metaphorically, batten down the hatches and just wait for it all to come through, and then stick my head up like some body coming out of a nuclear bunker when it's all done, and see what's out there and what's left. But by then, what I have seen that used to work, years and years and years ago, nearly said it again then, years and years and years ago, but it's not the way it works now. We've seen the way that people have embraced video conferencing. We've seen the way that people have embraced social media, email marketing, whatever it is. It's important that you make the noise and continue to make that noise and keep pushing on. As Eric said right at the beginning, don't be frightened of following up on those leads. Don't be frightened of following up on those people that you've had connections with in the past. How many people, I had a client on a call earlier on today, and he works for about 20, 25 different businesses, and he's only connected to 2 of them on his LinkedIn profile. So he's starting to do more stuff on LinkedIn, but he's not actually connected with his clients, and he's not connected with his prospects, which is the thing that we talked about afterwards. So make some noise. The second thing to beat your competitors and get ahead of your competitors is to stand out. If they're saying stuff and you're saying the same stuff, then that's not going to set you ahead of your competitors. So what we need to do is we need to adapt and make sure that we're standing out. What can we do? What about our services? What about reviews, getting people to leave us reviews? What about new innovations that we can make the most of in the time that we've got that will make us stand out? So just take a minute now, and I'm going to grab a sip of tea while you do this, but think about some, we call them unique selling points, unique selling propositions. What is it that makes us unique? And one of the caveats I say to that, and again, hopefully Kate and other marketeers on this will echo it, it's not necessarily what does make you stand out, it's what you say. Because your competitors probably actually do some of the same stuff. But if they're not talking about it, then you need to. There was a campaign some years ago by Renault, and when everybody else was talking about fuel economy in cars and aerodynamics and all sorts of things like that, the power of cars, Renault brought out, I can't think of the model now, what it was, but it was a family car. And they were one of the first ones to mention safety. And it was a family car. Now, all the other cars had to have the same NCAP ratings for safety, seat belts, but Renault actually started talking about their ratings. They made a big deal about, if you want your family to be safe whilst being in your car, this is what you need to be looking for, and we have it. None of their competitors at the time. Now, when you look at car adverts, you very rarely even see a car. It's all about the emotion. It's all about butterflies and hummingbirds at the side of it. Again, it's about making it emotional. But, have a think about what you can actually say that is different to your competitors. What does make you different, or what can you say that is different about you that perhaps they're not saying, but you can say it? So just have a think about that now. Kate's made an interesting comment here. Your business identity and brand is what people say about you. I love this. When you're not in the room. Yeah. It's what people say behind your back. Do you want it to be a good identity and a good brand? My wife told me about that episode today. I'm sure she'll tell other people about it. She'll be on Facebook saying how bad it was. You want it to be a good identity. You want it to be a strong identity. What you don't want it to be is somebody who is talking about you behind your back when you're not in the room, that actually is not giving you the glowing reviews. But think about what makes you different. What makes you stand out from your competitors? It might be the level of reviews that you've got. It might be your Trustpilot score. It might be some certification that you've got, accreditation that perhaps in the past has not been that important, but perhaps now should be, because your competitors either don't have it or they don't promote it. It might be about a particular performance of a product, performance of service. What is it that makes your business stand out against your competitors? And the thing is, you need to realize that if you're not thinking about this now, you can be sure that your competitors are. And you need to be working on it because they probably are working on it. Okay. And we need to keep you ahead of your competitors. Okay, moving on to the final part of this, and I'm trusting that you've written it down. I can't see you. I don't know that you're doing it, but I trust that you are. And those of you watching the recording, you know, you can always pause it and make some notes. But the other thing, and this is probably the most important one for me, is we need very, very quickly to start telling people what's coming soon. Okay, we might not be able to do certain things right now. We might not be able to deliver certain service levels or certain products right now. You know, the customers might not be there. But when they draw back the curtain, you want to be the first that they see. So if you're going to beat your competitors, make sure that you're talking about what's coming soon. What new things have you got? What are you reinventing? What are you relaunching? What kind of offers, promotions? What kind of levels of service and product are you going to be working on in the next few weeks, couple of months? Think about that identity that we talked about. You know, what are your plans for perhaps the end of 2020 or even 2021? You know, tell people that there is a future for you. Tell people there is a future for your business and for your suppliers and also for your customers. So tell them what's coming soon. I think somebody mentioned earlier on about, you know, letting the customers know that it's, you know, you're still here, business is as usual, you're still working, or you're still, you know, able to quote, etc. And that's really, really important. But now it's also time to lift our customers' heads a little bit and get people thinking ahead, because your competitors are probably still paralyzed in that what they can do now, what they're trying to sell now. What they're not trying to think is, what are they going to offer in 3 months' time, 6 months' time? Again, the video guys at Wallbreaker, they're already launching a program for a package of videos that businesses can use, and they're going to offer it over a 6-month installment plan. So it's not a big upfront cost. They're going to spread the plan over 6 months, and they're talking about that very, very shortly. You know, they're finishing off the campaigns right now and the videos right now, because they're looking at what is coming soon. It's not something that people are going to buy now, but it's something that people are going to buy when they start to come out of this lockdown and out of this trading crisis. So what have you got that perhaps you've put on a shelf? What have you got that you could take back off the shelf and relaunch it? I was talking with somebody who does apps and software development the other day that I work with in Sparkhouse, and yeah, they've got 2 or 3 products that they actually, with a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of finishing off, could actually launch or relaunch as products in the next few months quite easily without a lot of effort. And again, if we're trying to be productive and we're trying to be efficient in what we're doing, if we've got things that we can retool, that we can recreate rather than create from new, that's going to be more, I suppose, give us better margins and better return on the investment of what we're putting into it as well. So 3 things we need to do to beat our competitors. Make plenty of noise, keep that noise consistent, be more vocal on the channels that you're using, and make sure you're keeping an eye on what other people are saying. If your competitors are on social media twice a week, then you should be on there 3 times a week. If your competitor is sending out emails, then you should be sending out emails. If your competitor, whatever they're doing, make sure you're doing it plus some. Okay, but not in an annoying way. We don't want to compromise our values. That's why I put that right at the beginning about the values and the identity. What can you do to make yourselves stand out? What can you do? What can you say that makes you stand out that perhaps your competitors aren't saying? And what have you got that is coming soon? And all of this boils down to, and I think Eric, you mentioned it, and I know we've got a couple of people on here that are in the research area, but it is about research. It is about studying. Take some time, look at who your competitors are, understand them, get into their mindset, see what they're doing, look at their websites, look at their social media. They're probably doing the same to you. So make sure you understand where your competitors are, what they're talking about, what they're saying that sets them apart, what have they got that's coming soon, and don't be the ones that are just saying me too. Be the ones that are ahead of that. Okay, and I think one of the things I realized by being involved in the upscale process that the LEPs are dealing with is what they have found is that the businesses that use technology and digital are the ones that are more likely to experience growth. And I think one of the things that this is doing is it's enabling us all to be more focused on how we're using technology, how we can be more streamlined in how we control our data, our processes, our communications, etc. So, even some of that process development, some of that streamlining can also be what can set us apart from our competitors. Delivery times. Is there a way that you can shave off a week off a 4-week delivery time? I've got a client who manufactures kitchens, and they're spending all their downtime at the moment in the workshop, seeing how they can make their they're rearranging the workshop to be more efficient, and they're looking at waste. They're looking at the way that they actually sequence the manufacture of their kitchens so that they can be more effective and deliver quicker delivery times. So they can cut their 6 to 8 weeks down to 4 to 6 weeks. That's what they're looking to do. So what can you do to beat your competitors? Because price, for the guy who does the kitchens, actually isn't the issue. The issue that always gets people choosing a competitor is that they can offer quicker delivery times. Okay, questions? Any questions to ask? Yeah, so Kate has said here, I'm an ex-ops director, moved to HR, so advice I give is based on the reality of running a business, advice based on experience, no pink and fluffy HR, no legal spin, just realistic and achievable. Spot on. Yeah, say it that people can understand it. Yeah, and if I, as I've read that out, I'm an ex-ops director, moved to HR. So the advice I give is based on the reality of running a business, advice based on experience, no pink and fluffy HR, no legal spin, just realistic and achievable. Now that kind of message is going to set Kate apart. It's just Kate Goodman, that is. That kind of message is going to attract people who don't want that fluffy corporate stuff. They want something that is realistic, and they want stuff that is achievable. They don't want perhaps a 12-week redundancy process when they only employ 2 people. I'm probably giving a bad example there, Kate, so forgive me for that. But there are more realistic ways of doing things. No pink and fluffy HR. Yeah, absolutely. So really, really important to get that message right. Questions? Any other questions? Any questions about the rates grants? Hopefully everybody is on that, those that can. One of the things I would encourage people to do that came in to me the other day is to look at if you have any storage space that you rent. So you might be a business that trades from home, for example, but you actually have a storage unit where you keep tools or equipment. It might be that you actually have registered your home address with Companies House. You are the registered address of your company, and therefore your home address is already in the public domain. It might not be registered with the local authority, but if your office or your home premises are the registered office address, then what I would say is write to your local authority, call the local authority, get an email address for the local authority, and say to them, look, I'm a bona fide business. I employ people, and these are the things I have. I either have rented storage space, or I've got an office which is registered with Companies House, HMRC at home. If have conversations with people. If you don't ask, you don't get. And I spoke with somebody last week who is a cleaning company, and they store all of their cleaning materials at client premises, but she does actually trade from a home address, and did register the company at that home address, has got a company registration number, employs about 5 or 6 cleaners at the moment, and wrote to the local authority, did that on Friday, and got the money in the bank on Monday. Okay, so it's definitely worth doing that. I can't remember who mentioned it, but somebody mentioned non-profits last week. I've been doing a lot of research on non-profits, and there are new guidelines that have come out. It does tend to be charity based. So if you can illustrate through a charity number, then there is support available. The difficulty with non-profits is that I think it's more a lender-based thing, and there are some specialist lenders out there that are looking at providing financial support to non-profits. So they're not looking for high profits, but what they still will want is cash flow. They will still want to know that the business is going to be there afterwards and still be able to trade. It's not necessarily about generating profit, but it's about trading. And I think that sector more and more is going to come out of it. So check the government business support webpage. There is also a facility that you can sign up to daily emails. And what I'm seeing is better information coming through those email updates, because it directs you to the white papers, it directs you to the press releases, it directs you to the slides. If you didn't know, the slides are available for every government presentation that's done. So you can sign up for the government websites, and if any of you need that information of which sites to go and have a look at, then let me know. But certainly I think there is going to be some help for non-profits. If you've got a charity registration number, there is definitely some help coming, and there's more information about that on the government website now. And I'm pretty sure that some of the other lenders are going to be looking at non-profits as well as part of the sort of a version of the CBILS, as it were. Because if it's non-profit and you've still got directors and trustees, etc., then they need to keep you guys trading. Any other questions before we move on to the next topic? Conscious we're about an hour, just over an hour into it now. Okay, no questions? Oh, you're very quiet now. You're all bored stiff and just sat there, or you've not got anything particularly that you want to ask. I hope that it's not because you've not got anything to ask. Anything you want to talk about, ask about that we're talking about today, or anything else. It doesn't have to be a question. just about what we're covering today. It can be a question about anything at all, what to do about your staff, perhaps yourself, vehicles, payment holidays, anything like that. That would be really useful. Ian, you've just raised your hand there. Would you like to say something or ask something?
Yeah, I'd like to ask something, but actually I've got my wife with me as well. She's listening in.
Okay.
Next desk, so she'd actually like to ask a question about her business, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Oh, he beat me to it. I was going to just come in and start talking, so you thought he sounded like this.
All right. Thank you.
Don't mind the gate crashing, sorry, but this is really interesting. I understand all the marketing stuff and it all makes loads of sense and there's loads of ideas here. My position is I left a full-time employment role a few months ago to set up a new business, so I'm still very much at the stage of finding new clients, and I didn't know what your view is in terms of marketing yourself to new companies. It almost feels a little bit unsympathetic at this time. I understand with existing clients it's different because you've already got a dialogue going.
Yep.
I'm not sure what to do for going for new business.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question, and it's one that for me is a very easy one to answer. Yeah, you absolutely should be going out for new business. Yeah, I've picked up more leads and more new prospects in the last 3 weeks than I have in the last 6 months.
Right, wow.
Okay. Diana Catton, who I mentioned earlier on, she's seen a significant increase in the number of requests for quotes. Now, another one that I was talking to the other day, a different Paul who does parcel delivery, he is now 80% up on December, which usually is his busiest month of the year. And most of that hasn't come from existing customers, it's come from new customers. So definitely it's about getting all of this stuff that we're talking about, getting identity, getting that, looking at your competitors, seeing what they are and being different, saying things differently, doing things differently, setting yourself apart from people, getting that message right, and putting that out. And you can do it in two ways. So I didn't get your first name.
It's Georgina.
Georgina. I should know that. That's my mother-in-law's name. Georgina, what it is, there's two ways you can do it. You can either do it by the way that I certainly work, and I don't know what it is that you do, but it's certainly, I do a lot of inbound marketing. So I'm a great believer in that if you talk enough about who you are, what you do, why you do it, how great you are, but use that, I use a framework called the Story Brand Framework by Donald Miller. You can look at it at mystorybrand.com, and he's got a great book as well, Building Your Story Brand. But, you know, if you put, from an inbound marketing point of view, I look at it and I talk about the hero of the story, and I'm not the hero, okay? And I think we all need to realize that if we are supplying goods to a customer, it's the customer who is the hero. And every good film, every good movie, the hero is the one who has a problem, who needs to overcome the problem and get the success at the end. Okay. We have to show that we understand what they want. We have to show that we understand their problems, and then we are the Obi-Wan Kenobi to Luke Skywalker. You know, we're the donkey to Shrek. Yeah, we're the ones that are the guide. We're the ones that help them be the better person. We're the ones that help them be the hero. And I think if you can communicate that in a way that, as we were talking about before, connects with them, then people actually will start coming to you.
Yeah.
And people will start saying, you know, I like what this person's saying. I like what this person's sending to me, through social media channels, whatever it is, or recommendations, referrals, transferable message, all that kind of stuff. You know, people then will start to come to you. So, you know, I make 0 outbound calls. Any call that anybody ever makes with me is one that they schedule to speak with me. So you can do it via inbound marketing. The other way is, of course, to send out emails. It is to say, here I am. If you're looking for something different, if you're looking for something exceptional, if you're looking for something that, you know, you perhaps don't even know you need yet, but you need it now,
Yeah.
then that works. And you never know, what people are thinking. It might be something that they've not needed in the past. I told a story a few sessions ago about our lawn, and I've had lots of leaflets dropped through a letterbox for lawn care, and it was the one day we were talking about how our dogs were killing the grass, and we were absolutely fed up with it. It came through a letterbox, and he's done our grass for the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
So some of it is fortuitous, and some of it is because you tell people that they need you. I think the other thing as well, from an outbound marketing point of view, is you don't know how they're struggling. I did this with a client the other day who does mobile vehicle servicing and repairs, and he went out to people that had said no to him in the past because most of them had either got a reliable dealership they took their vehicles to, they like going to the main dealers, or they got somebody who they had in-house that did it.
Yeah.
But now the main dealers are closed. Now the person that used to do it has gone off ill, and they haven't got anybody to do the repair. He went to 5 vehicles over the Easter weekend that people either couldn't get into, couldn't get started, and had broken down, that they couldn't get anybody else to go to. And the only reason that they picked up the phone is because he'd emailed them and said, look, I know you said no to me in the past, but don't forget we're still here and we do this.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, so keep doing it. Yeah, and you will. I'm a great believer in that. As long as you are serving people and giving them something that they need, not necessarily something that they want, because they have to have a need for it, then there is nothing wrong with going after new people and telling them that they have a need, and you are the guide that can help them achieve that need. So
okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem, Georgina.
Thanks.
Was there anything else, Ian, that you wanted to ask, or was that it? Looks like that was it.
No, that was it. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Okay, great. Okay, let's have a look down here. Kate, yeah, social media is a good way of building relationships with potential clients. Follow them on Twitter and LinkedIn. This is what Kate is saying here. Find out what they're interested in and get involved in the conversations. You can also write articles, comment pieces, and offer free advice on LinkedIn. Position yourself as an expert in your field. Yeah, Kate, I'm going to ask you to come off mute again for this and showcase what you mean by that, and showcase obviously what you do as well. Anything you want to add more to that sort of narrative? I'm interested in the writing articles and comments, because a lot of people are asking me on LinkedIn particularly about commenting on groups and the difference between writing an article and a post. And I know I've got my view on that, but I'd be interested in what your view is on the fact that you've written that down there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always useful, and we do this ourselves at times like this when, people are working in challenging conditions, and it may seem a bit insensitive to market to them in normal ways. It's a good opportunity to offer free advice and kind of give them something for free, if you like, and then hopefully they'll come back to you for more. So by that, I mean, writing an article or a blog post on a specific topic that people are interested in finding out more about, or something that might be able to help them. And if you've had a lot of inquiries about a particular subject, you could write a blog post or a LinkedIn article about it and post it on there. And it's really kind of, as well as offering people something for free, your advice and your expertise for free, you're also helping to position yourself as an expert in your field and as a thought leader, and then people will look to you as someone who's at the forefront of your industry, and that will help them build confidence in you. Even though you might be a new business and relatively unknown, you're kind of showcasing your expertise, if you like.
Yeah. And I think, you're right there, Kate. It is about being that go-to person for knowledge and expertise and advice, that when they think of the problem, we all go to the doctors when we have an illness because we know that's the place to go to get it fixed. And a lot of us on this call might offer a service that people don't wake up in the morning thinking that they need. But if they have something that they need, an illness that they need in their business, or a need in their business, something that they need help with, then you want to be seen as that trusted expert that they can go to without even thinking about it. So I completely agree. What about the difference between articles and posts? Because I'm interested to find out if you've got any sort of comments on what the difference is between the two and how one can benefit perhaps more than the other.
I mean, if I understand what you mean by that, I think posts and comments should be kept shorter and briefer, more concise, and linked to longer articles either on your LinkedIn profile or on your website. So keep comments and posts brief and to the point, topical and interesting, but then link to longer pieces or articles which can help, like I say, drive more traffic to your website, where people will hopefully stay on the website a while and have a look around while they're there and find out what else you do. Yeah.
So the articles are where you go more in depth.
Yeah.
Don't try and cover too much in the posts. Keep it short, keep it snappy, keep it easy to digest. But if you've got almost, it's the old-fashioned white paper feel, isn't it? If you want good, solid information, research, then put that into the article, not into a post. I know you're restricted on LinkedIn with post length anyway as well, aren't you? So
yeah, I think it's much more to keep it better concise on a post or a comment, because if you see a really long-winded post, it just puts me off reading it. If I want short, sharp updates when I'm scrolling through my social media channels like Twitter, for instance, even though now you can type more than 180 characters, I still try and keep my posts down in terms of word count, because people don't want to be reading massive long screeds of text on there.
No. And one thing I find frustrating, and I might even do it myself sometimes, I don't know, if I do, I'll slap myself on the wrist with it, but people who put tweets out there and they use up all the characters so that you can't reshare it and retweet it, because as soon as you get that RT and the name in front of it, you suddenly go above your limit. So keep it below the limit. I'm not a social media expert, but keep it below the limit, as Kate's just said. So at least then you give people the opportunity, when they share it, they can get that retweet part of it in there and easily reshare it. The more transferable you can make your message, and the easier it is to understand and pass on, then the better, definitely. Thanks, Kate, for that. One other thing, I just finish off on the articles. I used to get blog articles written, and I used to write the core content of it and get them sort of rewritten. I used to put them on the website, and I was always fed up and frustrated that very few people commented, very few people engaged. And somebody on a webinar very similar to this gave me the tip of putting those blog articles onto LinkedIn. And I don't particularly send people back to the website because I've got a different call to action that I asked them to do. But since I put the articles on LinkedIn, the engagement on LinkedIn is 400-500% more than what it was on the website. It's a tremendous difference. People comment more, people like and share more. So yeah, if you're not putting your articles on LinkedIn, then certainly it's a great platform to show, as Kate said there, that you're the trusted expert. And I hope that many of you are actually doing that. Moving on to, I've got that many screens up here, just bear with me a second while I close some of these down. Key performance indicators. Now, this is a productivity program. And it is important that if we're looking at our identity and we're making decisions against it, and we're balancing that we are behaving as we expect, and we're setting the expectations of how people are going to do business with us and for us, we're looking at how we can get ahead of our competitors. We need to make sure that whatever direction we're going in, that we're going in the direction that we want to. And I love the signpost over there that says this way, that way, the other way. Each of those is a way to get away from that signpost. Each of those, if that is point A, each of those is a way of escaping point A. But actually, are they the right way? And one of the most important things you can do to make sure that you're staying on the right track, you've set your goals, you've set your smaller milestones that we've talked about. One of the things you need to do then is make sure that you've set some core key performance indicators. And I mentioned earlier on that the lady from Mars Group told me some time ago that Mars Group set as a whole group, I think it's 3 KPIs. It might have gone up to 5, but then came back down to 3. But you want no more than 5 key performance indicators. And I've mentioned key performance indicators in past sessions, but this is about stepping it up a little bit. And this is about examining perhaps what you've thought about in the past and making sure you've got something that drives your business forward, something that you can measure, not just to see where you are, but to see where you're heading. Okay. What key performance indicators are going to keep you on track? What key performance indicators, what landmarks? Think about orienteering. When you're trying to find your way out of somewhere where you're lost, you're perhaps in bad weather, you're in fog. What you need is those, not everything. You don't need a complete dashboard of everything in your business, but what you need are some key core landmarks to be able to identify where you are. So it might be a compass, for example. Am I still heading north? You might be veering slightly off. So you might decide when you're orienteering that am I still staying between that hill there and that hill there? Or you might look at trees or particular monuments. And it's key performance in your business is no different. And key performance indicators need to make sure that they are looking towards the future. You might have other key performance indicators that are historic. So management accounts, for example, would be good historic performance indicators. But what you want to do is make sure that you've got some KPIs that are more forward thinking. So leads, for example, would be a good one. How many new leads are coming in? Now, it's an interesting one, speaking to Georgina there about, targeting new clients, setting some, a KPI around engagement with new clients, or how many meetings, Zoom meetings, Skype meetings. Of course, other platforms are available as well. I have to pretend I'm on the BBC. But, what kind of indicators could you have that are moving forward in your marketing? What kind of indicators can be in those efficiencies? So I mentioned earlier on the kitchen manufacturer. So one of their core key performance indicators is going to be delivery times. Are they actually, how many of their jobs, how many of their projects are finished and completed within a 3-week target? That's one of their KPIs. So they're looking forward, not how many did we complete, but how many are we going to complete, and then measuring against it. So they're setting targets. So key performance indicators can look obviously at the past, but they also should set targets for the future. So if your KPIs don't have a target-based facility towards them, then they should be, because you need to have something to measure against, and you can't monitor what you can't measure. Okay, and you might say, well, I always struggle with KPIs because I always struggle with the metrics. It doesn't have to be metrics. It can be have we done it? Yes or no. Will we do it? Yes or no. It could be an overall happiness. You think about Trustpilot and things like that. It's not a precise science when you give it 4 out of 5 stars, 4.5 out of 5 stars. Or a smiley face to a frowny face. Where do you want your business performance to be in the next 3 to 6 months? What core performance indicators could you have? And I want you to think about just choosing 3 today, or 3 as you're watching this recording, and work on those 3. And I would strongly suggest that one of them should be finance based, one of them should be new business based, and one of them should be customer satisfaction based. So when I was listening to Amanda talk about the Mars ones, they were generally the three, and obviously there's slightly different ones in each of those. So new customers, it might be leads, it might be conversion rate, it might be new client appointments, but they were the three areas. Finance, how is our cash flow going? Is it about how much money we've got in the bank? Is it about the runway that we've got? How many more months of money have we got before we run out? Look at new business and look at existing business. What are our customer service levels like? How are we performing with our existing clients? So think about those core key performance indicators. We've talked about KPIs in the past, so I'm not going to spend much more time on this, and I'm conscious that we've got about 5 minutes left. But really important to think about those KPIs and what they might be. Time to reflect. I'm happy to answer any more questions if you want to put them in the questions and answers box. Thanks for those who are sharing things in there. It's invaluable set of information for the University of Lincoln as well. But what I'd like to do is get you to stop and think about what we've talked about today. We've talked about strengthening your business identity. We've talked about things that you can do to set you ahead, to beat, to thrash your competitors. Why shouldn't we? Whilst others, are struggling, yes, we can have sympathy with them, etc. But this is your opportunity to get ahead of them. This is your opportunity to thrive, not just survive in this crisis. So look to beat your competitors. Don't feel bad about that. Don't feel guilty about that. As long as you do it in a respectable way, then that's great. And then think about your core key performance indicators and how you can master them, because indicators are great, but once you set those targets, once you set those five absolute maximum key performance indicators, once you set those targets of what they're going to be, what actions are you going to take that get you closer to those? So what I want you to think about now is, what have you taken away from today's session? What notes have you jotted down? And try and think of 1, 2, 3 actions that you are going to do within the week ahead. Is it to work on your values? Is it to look at your competitors and research? Is it about getting your message clearer? Is it about more frequently? Is it about stepping up your marketing so you can use the services of Kate and the team at Shooting Star and promote your business more effectively? What is it that you're trying to do? Is it about actually recruiting more people? How can you recruit more effectively using David and the team at Route to Recruit? I'm trying to give as many shout outs to the people on the list as I can, by the way. What can you do to take some actions in the week ahead? So take just a minute now, just to write down 1, 2, 3 things that you can do, and please put them in the Q&A box. Type them in the Q&A box. Don't forget, tomorrow is the Staying Safe in Lockdown Cybersecurity from Jay, who is a very valued client of mine in Sparkhouse, who is doing a cybersecurity webinar tomorrow, 16th of April at 3 p.m. If you want to register for that, then you just need to drop Lottie an email at the university, and she will send you through the details for that. You are entitled to be on that webinar. It's part of the productivity program. You're all on the productivity program, so please make use of that and attend if you possibly can. Hopefully you've written some things down. Paul, article on LinkedIn of what we've been doing during the lockdown to help provide fridges for food banks. Yeah, great. People love those good news stories. I think we're all fed up of the news and the doom and gloom, and even the main news, the ITNs, the Good Morning Britons, etc. They're all starting to realise that they've got to start spreading a little bit of good news. So Paul, yeah, well done, and I look forward to reading that. Neil, currently refreshing some of our marketing and messaging. We'll look at how our values and purposes can be injected into that material. Yeah. you should definitely make sure that when you're marketing to people, that they understand that purpose and they understand how you do business, because then what you'll do is you'll attract people that want to work with you because of how they see you are, but also if they respond to those values, they're more likely to be the people that you want to work with. David said here, check values with team, look at the competitors, what they're doing and doing different. Great. Okay, any final questions? I'm open to one more question if anybody wants to ask anything. Otherwise, we will call it a day. I'll just put the link there for the webinar, and there is the contact details, productivity at lincoln.ac.uk to find out anything more about the productivity program, how you can use some of the other options and offerings of the program that's supported by the University of Lincoln and the ERDF. Mariah here said, confirm my USP and shout about it, review our services, get rid of those that are not popular. Yeah, now is a good time to streamline. You know, if you're going to prune anything back, now is a great time to be able to do that. Going to write a letter to all clients to thank them for their custom. Yeah, what a great thing to do. You know, how nice would that be to actually have a thank you card or a thank you letter? Of course, if you want any cards, you can always get them printed by Glenn and his team at Allen Signs. Kate, quick furlough update today. See government website. Employees employed on or before the 19th of March can now be included. Thanks, Kate, for saying that. So an update on there on the furlough. Before, obviously, there was a restriction on who could receive it and who couldn't. So now there's a change and an update to that. And things are changing all the time. So keep an eye on that government website. And if you look at it, it's government and it's business support. It's on a lot of my Facebook posts, LinkedIn posts, etc. You'll see it on there. Great. Well, we've just gone over there by 3 or 4 minutes. I trust that this is being useful and giving you some things to think about. It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to work with you all on this session. If there is anything in particular that you want covering as a topic next week, I've already laid out some things that I want to talk about, but I'm really, really keen to make sure that I'm delivering because of, I think, the certainty of some of the questions and the answers now. What I'd like to do is cover off topics that perhaps you want a little bit more education on, a little bit more in-depth knowledge on. So please let me know. You've got my email address, all of you. Some of you connected with me on LinkedIn. Please let me know, and I'm happy to add any topics and cover any topics that you want, any particular areas of business education that you want some help with and would like covering in a bit more detail. Please let me know, and I'll include it in next week or the following weeks. We're about halfway through this now, I think. I think we've got 3 or 4 left of this 6 series. Hopefully we might even get the university to extend it and do some more on it to cover some specific things on the other side of this. Have a great rest of the day. Enjoy your week as much as you can. Work on those actions, and I'll see you all same time next week, same link, and perhaps see you on the Staying Safe in Lockdown webinar tomorrow as well. Thanks very much, and bye for now.